Everyone prepares for pregnancy, everyone prepares for birth, but hardly anyone tells you how much your body has to recover after your baby arrives. There's the bleeding, the soreness, the exhaustion, the hormonal changes, the breastfeeding, and the enormous job of healing while carrying a newborn. And that is why I want to talk about something much more bigger than one postpartum herb. You've probably heard of shepherd's purse for postpartum bleeding, but here's what caught my attention. Researchers have actually put shepherd's purse through a randomized clinical trial involving women immediately after childbirth, and the results were promising, but there's one crucial detail about that study that often gets left out online. So today we're going to go beyond shepherd's purse and build an evidence-led natural postpartum toolkit. And I'm going to show you which natural interventions actually have clinical research behind them, which ones remain promising but certain, and the postpartum warning signs you should never attempt to treat yourself at home. Let's start with the herb that inspired this entire video, shepherd's purse. Traditional herbal medicine has long associated this herb with controlling bleeding, but I'm much more interested in whether this traditional herb has been tested clinically, and surprisingly, it has. A randomized clinical trial published in 2017 studied 100 women following vaginal delivery. Researchers divided the women into two groups. Here is where the study gets really interesting. Both groups received oxytocin. The treatment group additionally received 10 sublingual drops of hydroalcoholic extract of shepherd's purse. The control group received placebo drops, and the researchers then measured postpartum bleeding, and they reported a significant greater reduction in bleeding among women receiving a shepherd's purse alongside oxytocin. So here's the study, 2017 randomized clinical trial, 100 women, and they were given a combination of oxytocin and shepherd's purse versus oxytocin and the placebo. The link to that randomized study will be in the description box below, so you can be able to view the full details of that. So yes, there is a genuine human evidence here, but please don't turn that finding into shepherd's purse can replace medical treatment for postpartum hemorrhage, because that isn't what the research tested. What they tested is that shepherd's purse, in addition to standardized oxytocin treatment, was very effective. And even the researchers concluded that further studies was necessary to establish appropriate dosing, effectiveness, and safety. So here is my verdict. It is very promising, but preliminary. This is exactly how I think we should approach traditional herbs. Don't dismiss them because they're traditional, but don't exaggerate the science either. So let's talk about some normal postpartum bleeding versus postpartum hemorrhage. Now we need to make an incredibly important distinction. Normal postpartum discharge is called lochia, but postpartum hemorrhage is completely different, and postpartum hemorrhage can become very, very life-threatening. Current World Health Organization guidance continues to emphasize rapid recognition and evidence-based treatment of postpartum hemorrhage, and that includes established medical interventions rather than waiting to see whether a herbal remedy works. So if bleeding suddenly becomes very heavy, or if you're experiencing any of these, faintness, significant weakness, difficulty breathing, or racing heartbeat, or you feel seriously unwell, this is not the moment to prepare shepherd's purse. I want you to seek urgent medical care. And I want to emphasize something. Using conventional medicine when it is necessary doesn't make your postpartum recovery less holistic. A truly holistic approach uses the right intervention for the right situation. Now, here is where the research becomes really interesting. One of the most simple natural postpartum interventions has strong clinical evidence than many of the expensive postpartum products. It is cold therapy. After vaginal birth, particularly after tearing, swelling, and episiotomy, the perineum can become incredibly sore. And research have proven, and researchers have also studied whether ice packs and other forms of serotherapy actually reduce that pain. Now, here's a study that's really interesting. A 2020 systematic review and meta-analysis looked at 11 studies involving 1,492 women, and the research found evidence that cryotherapy reduces postpartum perineal pain. And the research hasn't stopped there. And your 2026 systematic review evaluating non-pharmaceutical treatments for postpartum perineal pain again found high confidence evidence supporting cryotherapy for reducing acute pain during the first several hours after application. Now think about that. We spend so much time searching for exotic postpartum remedies when something as simple as appropriately using cold therapy has multiple studies behind it. And if you are using cold therapy, just remember, protect your skin. Don't place ice directly against it, and follow your maternity team's advice, particularly if you've had significant tearing or another complication. Now, with that being said, let's talk about something I consider far more important than postpartum detox teas: nutrition. Birth requires an enormous amount from our body, and blood loss during delivery can contribute to postpartum iron deficiency as well as anemia. Trust me, I've been there. And that's why postpartum recovery isn't the time I deliberately undereat or aggressively cleanse, because this is the time that your body needs raw material in order to rebuild. Prioritize foods supplying protein, iron, folate, vitamin B12, vitamin C, healthy fats, fiber, and sufficient energy. And if you are actually developing postpartum anemia, food alone, unfortunately, will not be necessary enough. A Cochrane review examining treatments for postpartum iron deficiency anemia found that there is evidence supporting iron therapy, although certainty varied between outcomes and treatments. To be honest, I'm not a big fan of the iron therapy. Personally, it hasn't worked well for me, and it caused a lot of other side effects, but everyone is different, and if it works well for you, then that would be great. So if blood tests show that there is significant anemia, don't assume that things like nettle tea, spinach, or molasses will automatically correct this. Yes, these foods can massively contribute to proper nutrition, but when you have diagnosed anemia, you deserve proper assessment and appropriate treatment that will be providing you with fast relief, and then you could be able to build on these lovely foods such as spinach, molasses, moringa, and nettle tea, which have worked amazingly well long term. Now, let's talk about one thing: hydration. You're recovering from birth. You may be breastfeeding, you're probably sleeping at strange hours, and you're caring for another human around the clock. Always keep water somewhere convenient, especially whenever you normally feed your baby. Drink according to thirst and include hydrating foods like soups, broths, fruits, and vegetables. And don't fall in the trap of thinking you need liters of special detox water to flush any toxins after birth, because postpartum isn't primarily a detoxification project. It's actually a recovery project. And that difference completely changes how I approach this. And I wish I knew this information when I had my first child. Now we get into one of the most heavily marketed parts of postpartum herbal medicine: herbs for breast milk production. Think of fenugreek, fennel, milk thistle, shatavari, and you've probably seen at least one of these inside a lactation tea. Now, these substances are often called galactose, and some of them have been clinically studied. Some of them are extremely effective, like moringa and like fennel as well. But this is another situation where the internet's confidence, unfortunately, is much more stronger than the clinical evidence. Now, a systematic review examined oral galactose used by breastfeeding mothers, and the researchers found that the evidence for natural ingredients was generally very uncertain, largely because studies were small and often methodologically weak. More recently, researchers have continued investigating these herbs, including ones used among women and mothers of premature infants. There is a study I'd like to link you to. It is a 2026 systematic review that found some potentially promising effects from certain herbal interventions. And these herbs are amazing, including drinking fenugreek and taking moringa as well, but they are not going to change the results massively and very quickly. So that's something that I want to be very clear on. So I'm not going to tell you just go ahead and just drink fenugreek and your milk supply will explode, because this is not evidence-based. If you are concerned about supply, I need you to investigate these things. Number 1, is your baby latching effectively? 2, how frequently is your baby feeding? 3, is your milk being transferred properly? 4, is pumping equipment actually fitted correctly if you are pumping? And also, could maternal or infant health factors be involved? Because no herb, unfortunately, can compensate for ineffective milk removal. And this is where an experienced midwife or even a lactation professional can be incredibly valuable. Now, let's get to some herbs to use. So here's probably one of the biggest change I've made in the way I think about herbal medicine. I don't ask which postpartum herbs should every woman take. Instead, what I do now, I actually reflect on what exactly are we trying to accomplish here. If it's bleeding, what kind of bleeding is it? If it's a low milk supply, is the supply actually low, or is there a problem with milk obstruction? And if it is fatigue, could anemia be a contributing factor? And if it is pain, where is the pain coming from? Now, if the problem is digestive and there's a constipation issue, could any medication, dehydration, or reduced mobility be involved as a causing factor? Now, that distinction matters the most, because herbs contain pharmaceutical active compounds, and breastfeeding introduces another important consideration. Could the substance or any of the metabolites reach the baby through breast milk? And we have to be very careful on that, because this is why I wouldn't combine herbs like shepherd's purse or raspberry leaf and a half a dozen other herbs simply because they're labeled postpartum. I need you to target the problem and then evaluate the evidence. This is what it's all about, the holistic healing. And now we come to something clinical trials can't package into a beautiful supplement bottle. Rest. Your uterus is recovering, and also tissues are healing, hormones are shifting dramatically, and sleep is affected. So you may be establishing breastfeeding, and if you've even had a C-section, you're also recovering from major abdominal surgery while carrying a newborn, and that in itself is enormous. So your postpartum toolkit should include practical help, someone bringing in meals, someone washing the clothes, someone cleaning, someone helping with older children where possible, and you don't receive bonus points for proving that you can do everything immediately after birth. I wish I learned this and I wish I implement this in my first 3 births, because I was just carrying everything. It was just extremely destructive, and unfortunately the price was paid later on. Recovery requires resources, and rest is one of the fundamental elements that will help with recovery. Now, let's talk about the holistic recovery and what it needs to include. It has to include emotional health, not just herbs, not just nutrition, not just physical healing, because your mental health matters too. Think of hormonal shifts, sleep deprivation, feeding difficulties, birth complication, and the psychological adjustments to carrying a newborn. All of this can affect emotional well-being. If you have sadness, if you have feelings of hopelessness, severe anxiety, frightening, intrusive thoughts, confusion, or even feeling unable to cope, this becomes persistent or severe, please seek professional help. And if something or someone believes in this case that your baby may be in immediate danger, also treat that as an emergency, because no herbal tea replaces appropriate mental health treatment. And seeking the treatment is also completely compatible with holistic care as well. So after looking at the clinical research, what's actually inside my evidence-led natural postpartum toolkit, you ask? Not 20 tinctures, not an aggressive cleanse, and definitely not replacing emergency medicine with shepherd's purse. It is appropriate medical care when necessary. It is a combination of nourishing foods, hydration, evidence-supported cold therapy, targeted herbal medicine where appropriate, breastfeeding support, plenty of rest, and practical support, as well as emotional care. And shepherd's purse, what's happening with that? I think it's one of the most fascinating traditional postpartum herbs, precisely because we actually have a randomized human trial, which is quite rare for herbs. But one trial involving 100 women, unfortunately, doesn't really establish it as a replacement for standardized postpartum hemorrhage treatment. And that's the philosophy I want to bring to that holistic mom. Tradition gives us questions, science helps us to test them, and also good holistic medicine should respect both without exaggerating either. So if you want part 2, comment postpartum herbs and I'll investigate shepherd's purse, raspberry leaf, nettle, moringa, fenugreek and fennel individually and rank each one of them according to stronger evidence, whether it's promising, whether it's traditional use but has limited evidence, as well as whether there's not enough evidence as well. So subscribe to the channel for evidence-led herbal remedies, traditional wellness and health myth-busting tips and tricks. I'll see you in the next video. Take care and have a great day. All the best.